too many people feel disempowered to be their own case study for themselves. I'm glad you kind of, called out some of the social media influencers out there that are, very polarizing, fear mongering. How should people kind of manage, or even understand who it is they're getting information from?
Well, that's hard. I understand that because popular people, even credentialed individuals, I mentioned Dr. Jason Fung, he's an MD. There are some great resources. Domain-specific credentialed professionals in nutrition are people like Dr. Layne Norton, people like Dr. Alan Flanagan, people like, I believe it's Eric Trexler with Mass Research Review. There's other great ones. Alan Aragon has a research review. I subscribe to all of these guys and read all their research and watch their videos. And what's great about them is they will debunk these people. Dr. Idz has done a great job recently, Dr_IDZ, Dr. Idz, and they're enjoyable to watch. He's one of those who will stitch somebody else's claim, and then he'll come on and show why it's not evidence-based and show the science. I got to be honest with you, I saw this trend coming somewhere damn near 10 years ago, because Layne Norton has been doing Fuckery Friday for a long time. And I didn't want to be on that show. I consider my platform I take it with great responsibility. I try and provide good information. I partnered with a PhD RDN who is director of dietetics at UNLV and an instructor in their exercise phys department, Dr. Damon McCune. And he's the co-author of The Vertical Diet. And I partnered with him intentionally to go through every single claim or recommendation I was making to make sure it was science-based information. I've stepped on a few landmines over the years. I've been, rightfully so, criticized for a couple of my positions some many years ago. It's a learning opportunity, and as has Layne Norton. He used to believe things that he doesn't currently believe, as does Dr. Peter Attia. As I mentioned, he's evolved. I think Thomas DeLauer has done a great job recently. Thomas DeLauer has evolved. And he's interviewed a lot of people recently who have said things that I used to believe that I no longer believe. Those are great episodes. Those are some of my favorites. The people from Barbell Medicine do a great job, mostly with training and pain rehabilitation, but they're pretty solid on nutrition as well. But Dr. Andy Galpin. So I'm going through and naming names of people that might not be as well known. Certainly Alan Flanagan from A-Linea Nutrition isn't very popular, but he's probably at the top of that pack in terms of his knowledge and his ability to decipher research. He's a PhD who used to be an attorney. He's a Mensa-level genius. The guy's brilliant to listen to, not just in nutrition, but in history and a whole host of other topics. But these are the people I follow. These are the people I subscribe to. These are the newsletters I read. These are the videos I watch. And I watch all of the other people, too, to listen to them say stupid stuff and watch them get debunked. But I guess to continue on what I was saying, I saw that trend some many years ago with Layne Norton's and other people calling folks out on social media. And I didn't want to be that guy. And now I watch people getting called out on social media, and I cringe a little bit. There, but for the grace of God go I. There's things I've said in videos some many years past that I don't necessarily agree with today. And I would hate for somebody to pull up an old video and critique me without the proper amount of nuance. And so I went back to school. I enrolled in courses at UNLV. I got my CSCS from the NSCA and partnered with Damon and wrote the book with over 200 references to videos, articles, and peer-reviewed research to make sure that I supported all of my claims with evidence. And so I'm trying to make sure I navigate this minefield, but it's a bit discouraging to me to see people, you could say, get called out, but get corrected, and correctly so, and be supplied the evidence as to why they're wrong, and then to have them double down and just delete the comments and continue saying stupid stuff. At that point, all bets are off. They deserve to be exploited on the internet. And I think there's other examples. Gundry and his claims about lectins. You've got Lustig and his claims about fructose. None of those things are evidence-based, and they've been debunked many times. There's a good website called redpenreviews.org. And I think they employ about 7 PhD nutritionist researchers who they go and grab all of the, or some of the most popular New York Times bestsellers that are written by mostly MDs and some journalists and some chiropractors. But they make a lot of claims about nutrition that aren't factually based, and they actually rank their claims. They look up all of the research pertaining to the claims or that they reference and determine whether or not it actually supports their claims, and they'll give them a percentage of accuracy. And a lot of these people, their books are very, very poor in terms of accuracy, healthfulness, but they do a good job. They have a ranking system. And some of them are down in like the 18 to 25 percentile for scientific accuracy of their claims. And it can kind of open your eyes really quickly to, historically you may have felt as though somebody's credentials were enough to allow them, to convince you of certain things, whereas it's not their domain. And people come from outside the nutrition community and make comments about nutrition who are painfully wrong. I mean, it happened most recently with Gary Brecka and Dana White about these 7-day fasts, reducing cancer risk by 70%, which is just patently false. But they're making very bold claims. Another one recently was Dr. Jordan Peterson even came out and said something about the U.S. dietary guidelines being bad information. Nobody follows the guidelines. The guidelines are great. Lean protein, fruits and vegetables, not too much sugar. The diet guidelines are great. They're consistent with those of many other countries around the world, most other countries around the world. But nobody's following them. So the idea that somehow we followed the guidelines and got fatter is horseshit, because nobody followed the guidelines. We kept eating too much of junk food and fast food, and that's not part of the guidelines. So he was, I think rightfully so, Lane Norton called out and said, look, we love you, Jordan Peterson. You're a smart guy. You're a brilliant guy. Don't comment on things that are outside your area of expertise. And same with Dana White. Lane Norton called him out and said, look, I love the UFC. You do a fantastic job. But, stay in your lane. Don't be talking about things you have no particular expertise in. So trying to navigate that for the average individual whose feed is probably more populated by popular people than experienced or knowledgeable people, that's difficult. And I hope that some of the information that I just went through can provide them a foundation for navigating this.
Yeah, and that's why I have you here, because these aren't the sexy things, and it is sometimes, and it disheartens people, right? Because they hear some of these claims and then they can't live up to it. And, the challenge even with, finding some of these foods, or, how do we fit this into a budget? And just today's economy can be challenging as well. So it's like, then they begin to get disheartened. And I've seen this the same thing in the gym with like unexperienced trainers, right? You walk into big box gyms, you got the 18-year-old kid that played high school football, takes a weekend certification. Then he's got the 85-year-old guy doing tricep extensions and leg extensions. Like, that dude just needs to be moving, squatting, carrying some things around, and people get hurt. And then it completely destroys their relationship to the gym. And now you've just lost somebody for the rest of their life. They're like, screw that. I can't win because I hired a quote unquote professional and I just got more hurt. I didn't see the results. The same thing happens with some of these social media influencers. It's like, if I can't live up, if I don't have $100,000 to spend on a morning routine like somebody like Dana White, does that mean that I can't have success in doing these things? So it's just so disheartening. And that's why I love you and Lane. Like you said, he's the OG. Shout out to Lane, local here. We actually share a barber, Jose Executive Barber Studio in Tampa. Shout out there. But he's great, man. And he's real. And I think what you talked about is like your evolution, your understanding of these things evolve over time. Ultimately, isn't that what science is? It's trying to get us closer and closer to the truth. We're never really going to be able to reach all of it. We're always going to be understanding new things. We'll have better studies. We'll have better tools to study some of these things. It's like, we can't stay so stuck on like, this is the only way. We got to use these resources, be our own case studies, build a lifestyle, tweak certain things, but ultimately have people feel empowered. And I think that's what I'm trying to do here, is just empower people that, hey, here's the information. Now go run with it and make it your own.
Exactly. Listen to the experts and, take those things that work for you and put them in your toolbox, and those things that don't work for you, discard them and move on. I don't agree with 100% of what anyone says, and I don't ask everyone to agree with me. But you should certainly seek information and then try it. Hopefully, it's good information.